Hello there, everybody. Happy Friday. My name is Ashley Hunt. Welcome to this webinar on the Certified Associate in Project Management. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, the Eagles. Yes, the excitement is a little bit crazy out here in Glendale, Arizona. But good to see you. Oh, yeah, no, Mike. I'm live. It's not ChatGPT avatars. It's me for real. So good to see you guys. Welcome. Thanks for joining me on a Friday. We're going to talk about the Certified Associate in Project Management exam, some of the big changes that are coming up. And, oh, good. Welcome, welcome. Do me a favor and chat in. Are you guys attending this because you are interested in getting certified, or you have team members that you're like, I've got my PMP, but I got some peeps. They need to be ramped up a little bit. It doesn't, all this information is going to be good. You got team members. I figured, yeah, you're interested. Yes, you. Awesome. It's for you. You're taking the CAPM. All right, good. So some of you have team members. Some of you are like, I want to dumb in this for me. Planning on writing CAPM this year. Awesome. Both. Excellent. Hi. Yeah, both. Yes, both. Excellent. Cool. Well, good. This is going to be great information. It's also being recorded. And so, yeah, definitely catch up later. This is going to be recorded, so you'll have access to this. I upload it, once we wrap up. But I do want to talk about the changes to the exam. I know some of you are like, hey, I want to get certified this year. And that's good, because the one question that's going to come up is, when's the exam changing? And I'm going to say, sometime early 2023, according to the Project Management Institute. We don't have a set date yet, but typically we're going to get about a month in advance. I've already written the course. I know what the exam content outline looks like. I know what's going on with the PMP. So it's good. It's canned. It's ready to go. But we're just waiting for sort of that approval launch date from PMI. So if you're planning on taking the exam, do me a favor, those of you that are looking into this or you're planning on doing it this year, are you thinking more spring? Because if you're thinking more spring, then chances are, if I were a betting person, which I'm not, but if I were, I would say it's probably going to be spring. Yeah, summer, fall, perfect. Fall, winter, perfect. Yeah, because no matter what, you're going to get the up-to-date content. So whatever class you come to, it's going to be based on that exam. Summer, early fall, spring, perfect. If you're not sure, and we're going to talk about the differences, because the current exam is all based on what we call predictive, waterfall, traditional project management. And the PMP, the project management professional, was updated like a year and a half ago to include agile best practices. And so, when they change all that information, they roll out the PMP and then they follow that up with the CAPM to kind of mirror those changes in the industry. So, how many of you are working on projects currently, or you're looking to get certified because you're like, I want to, get promoted. I want to apply for this job. I just want basic common language and best practices that I can utilize on any projects. How many of you are currently working as a project manager? You have many more. You're currently working. Got a lot going on. All of that. Looking for the cert. Current in project agile approach. Awesome. Currently working on projects. Currently. Want to improve myself at current job. You go. Sort of. You're the information IT manager. And so ultimately, when we look at, agile and predictive project management, there's a lot of agile going on out there. And I know some of you did say agile, currently working. How many of you are like hybrid, predictive, traditional, give me your industry? And we can talk about some of this. This is pretty much how I run my live classes too. I like a lot of interaction because that helps me help you. And so a lot of organizations now are going into that more agile environment. It's a mix. So there's some hybrids going on in a lot of industries right now. Government, whatever you want, yes. Government, yes, it depends. Pipeline, it's a mix. Regulatory, government, IT system admin, organized between Excel and Word files. There you go. Transportation, current promotion, need to complete federal cert, IT, telecom, government, heavy equipment, global retail. Wow, you guys are all over. Architect, construction. So it used to be that if you were in government or construction, it was all about the predictive, right? And all that really means is it's a front loaded plan. You know what the scope of work is. We're building a building, or we're doing this, or, that kind of thing. So we can build out plans, we can build out budgets, we can build out baselines, get those approved, and then work toward that and utilize formal like change control or something like that. Casino IT support, health services. But there's a lot of industries now that are seeing the value in utilizing more of a hybrid or agile way of working. And that doesn't mean you're in software development. That's the good news, is that you could take any of the classes that have agile in them that I teach and know nothing about software development, right? So we'll talk about what the changes are going to be. We'll look at the exam content outline, that kind of thing. We'll talk about the steps for certification. They pretty much apply regardless, but I really truly feel like if you're planning on getting certified, your best bet is to wait until the exam changes. Yeah, if you wait until the exam changes and you come to the class, then you're going to get all the contact hours that you need, but you're also going to get all that information on Agile too. And I know a lot of people come to the PMP class and they've got a mix. They've got, some hybrid. Sometimes they're full on Agile. Sometimes they're full on predictive, that kind of thing. And so they really walk away with a well-rounded overview. And even though it's an exam prep class, like I don't roll like that. I mean, yes, you're going to get all the information. My peeps are passing, all of that. You will get your cert. But I think it's also important to be able to walk out of a class and be able to look at what can I now implement. Some of you chatted in and said, hey, look, I'm here to better myself, or I'm looking for better ways of doing the same things. I'm trying to get promoted. All of those things. A piece of paper is great because it says, hey, look, I did this, I sat the exam, I passed the exam, and I got this certification. But it's also equally as important to walk out of, a training or this experience with some best practices that you can take and utilize, or even adapt and adjust for things, because not everything works for everybody. And we'll talk about, perfect world project management versus real world project management. And I do that in class all the time because you've got people, like a lot of you, are managers looking to seek or looking for common languages amongst your team members. Like if I say this, everybody gets it. They all understand it. Or you have new team members, or you're even, I call accidental. Anybody an accidental project manager? Like, hey, you're really good at your job. You're promoted. You're in charge. That's what happened to me here. Yeah. I mean, I think probably all of us at some point are accidental project managers. If you can write, you get to make the plans. There you go. Like frying pan fire, project management. Yeah, lots of do well, get more work. I know, right? That's how it was for me too. It's like, hey, you seem like you know what you're doing. We're going to put you in charge of all of this. And I'm like, had to figure it out myself, right? Frying pan fire. And then once I started 100 years ago studying for the PMP, I was like, hey, I'm already doing a lot of these things. Yay. So there might be some things that we cover in class that you're already doing. Accidentally on purpose. That's true too. That's how it happens. You're the supervisor, manager, the CIO, but we don't CIO. You go. That's the way to do it. I'm in charge of this big thing that we don't have. Yay. But yeah, I mean, the cool thing about the CAPM is that maybe you just graduated from college, right? You're looking for a new position. Maybe you took business classes, you're a business major, that kind of thing, and you just don't have the experience yet. You're about to become an accidental project manager, whatever it is, or you're interested in a new career, looking for a new position. So the CAPM is a springboard to the PMP. Now, I know some of you are in here for your team members, right? Or just for information. But how many years experience do you have working, leading and directing projects? Would you say a couple months, I'm brand new? Would you say 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 100 years? How many years of experience? I know you got done. New, 10 years. It's usually going to go back and forth. Lots of people with 10 years. It feels every second of 10 years, doesn't it? No, I'm just kidding. 3, 4, 1, 3, 10 plus 20. All right, so if you are interested in getting certified and you have more than 3 years of experience, moms should count. Moms count. They count in my book anyway. But if you have 3 to 5 years, so college graduate, you have 3 years of project management experience, leading and directing projects, you can sit the PMP. I don't know if you knew that, but you can. And the PMP is up to date. We're authorized training partners. We teach the official. We do supplemental deeper dive masteries and so on to get you prepared for the PMP. So if that's something that you want to do, those of you that were like, I've got 1 year, this certification is perfect because you're already a year in. You get the certification, that's your springboard, right? And then once you get your 3 years, 5 years if you're a high school graduate, GED, or global equivalent. But if you only need 3 years and you already got one under your belt, 2 more after this cert, definitely you could go for that PMP for sure. The CAPM is designed to give an overview of just fundamentals, but it does go into, and I'm going to show you the content that's in the actual class and on the exam here, what it's going to cover. But we have more of the predictive, and then we have more of the agile frameworks. But there's also aspects of business analysis as well. Is it good to take the CAPM before the PMP? I think the answer is yes. It just depends. If you've got the experience to sit the PMP, I'm always like, why take the CAPM? I mean, I got my PMP and then I took the CAPM because I teach the class and I wanted to make sure that I'm in it with you. I know what the exam looks like. But for most people that have the experience, they're like, due to the cost and the training time and all of that, sometimes they just go right for the PMP. But it doesn't hurt to have both. It was more designed as a springboard for people that didn't have the experience to sit the PMP. Most people who do have the experience would be like, I'm just going to take the PMP class and then I'm going to sit the exam. But yeah, I mean, it's a personal, professional decision. I think if you take the new exam for the CAPM, that it's going to mirror what you could see on the PMP exam, just at a lesser level, right? It'll be a little bit easier than the PMP, but the content will help. So it's up to you. I mean, it's a professional, personal decision. No matter what, though, you're going to get all the information you need. You had your CAPM before you got your PMP. Highly recommended, John's saying. There you go. That's somebody who did it. Is the current PMP the most current? Yes. Yep. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, actually, the Project Management Institute is focused on continuous improvement. And so what they did is when they updated the exam, they gave us, authorized and other authorized training partners, the official content. And then just in January, they gave it a facelift, right? And frankly, because I've been teaching this for a very long time, this new iteration, I think, is in the best order for understanding in the class. So if you decided to take the PMP, you're getting authorized training, official PMI content, and then deeper dive supplementary types of information. Because some of the content in the official is pretty high level. And so because of that, it's important to dig a little bit deeper. So that's very long-winded, yes. John, yes, you're going to get it. When would be the best date to go through the course for the new CAPM exam? That's an excellent question. We can't launch the CAPM until PMI gives us the 1 month go-ahead. So once they actually have a date for the exam to flip over, and like I said, if I had to guess, I would say probably April, May-ish, which means we would start running the class in March, like a month ahead of the exam change. That way you'd be able to get the most up-to-date information and sit the correct exam. We're sort of at their mercy, if I'm being honest. It's not something that we can control, but they did say early 2023, and then they removed the early, which makes me think it's probably going to be spring before that exam changes. You're welcome. But no matter what, everything that I do, because we're authorized training partners, because I am the instructor, we are keeping a pirate eye on everything that PMI is doing to make sure that you guys are covered. So good stuff. I mean, everything is a project, as you know. Parenting as well. Should have put that on there. But it really depends. Like, how many people would you say any given day are on your team? And I know usually it depends. It depends on the project, that kind of thing. But are you working within the construct of risk assessments? I can tell by some of the industries that you probably are dealing with risk events. You've got 5 people, 6 people, yeah, 8. You are the team. You're dealing with risk, yeah, 8, 10. Right. So to 8 to 12, yeah, it's a pretty large. There's some large teams in there. And so having everybody speak the same language as far as best practice is always good. Trying to keep, your artifacts up to date. If you're dealing with risk, I did see some industries where I could probably guess you're dealing with, regulatory regulations compliance, right? Or quality. You've got to make sure that there are no defects in your results, those kinds of things. How many of you are virtual, still virtual, or hybrid? Or, boots on ground, man. We're back at work. What's your current situation with your team? And your hybrid, 100% virtual. Do you love it? 100% remote, hybrid, lots of hybrids, on-site, virtuals. Hybrid at home, 100% on-site. Yeah, because some industries never left, right? They couldn't. It wasn't the kind of industry where you just be like, we're all going to work from home and build houses from there. I can't do it. Mass produce something, can't do it. So virtual teams have become the norm. And, after COVID and all of that, more and more virtual teams are out there. And it's sort of funny because PMI originally was like, hey, virtual teams don't work very well. Way back. Way back. That's like old news. But now virtual teams are so much in the forefront that there's a lot of really great information on virtual teams, working with virtual teams, reward and recognizing, not just virtual teams in general, but there are aspects of a virtual in there. On the predictive side, traditional waterfall, they all mean the same thing. You can predict what the scope of work is. If you're mass producing bicycles, you're going to have a bicycle. When you're done, you're not going to have a motorcycle, right? And so we can build plans out. Now, the current CAPM is 100% predictive best practices. There's 49 processes that we go through. There's 10 knowledge areas like scope and schedule and cost, quality and risk and procurement and oh my, lots. Typically, it's for longer term projects. And so because that exam is 100% predictive, that's why I'm saying I would wait. And it looks like y'all's time frames are pretty well within when I think this is all going to go down. So that's good. You'll still get predictive best practices. You'll still get those because I know some of you are predictive. For those of you that are more hybrid / agile, was that a top-down decision or a bottom-up decision as in, hey, I learned this cool thing called, Kanban or task board, and I want to use it. Or I heard about this cool thing of doing daily stand-ups so that we don't have to have a weekly team meeting. Wouldn't that be great? For those of you practicing any kind of agile or hybrid project management, was it bottom-up your decision or was it an organizational top-down? Hey, we're doing this. Because what happens is PMI sends out what are called role delineation studies, which are surveys. Top down, bottom up, because that's why I ask, because sometimes an organization from the top down, and Maria, just out of curiosity, it could be yes, no, but was it well implemented? Because a lot of times what happens is that an organization is going to say, oh, Agile's the way of the future. Agile's the way to go. And then they change how they're doing things, and there's chaos. Wasn't there, but would say yes? Okay, good. And some of those top down. Bottom up typically is a little bit smoother just because an individual on their own team is saying, this is cool. Let's try this. And there's less chaos because they're still managing in that predictive environment. But to go full blown, agile is definitely a transition for organizations, and there's a little bit of chaos. And there's a lot of different best practices that fall under numerous kinds of frameworks. Some of the frameworks are going to be on the exam, and we'll take a look at that. Yes, it was driven by a consultant, though, not internal staff. Yeah, there was probably a little bit of boat rock in there, I would imagine. Because, organizations try and implement new things, and then you have this, new normal, and there's chaos. And unfortunately, and these are the types of questions on the exams as well, PMP included, is like stakeholders don't get it. How do you explain to a stakeholder that, agile teams don't do as much front-loaded planning as predictive teams? So there's a lot of like, well, duh, I don't get it. How do you explain it? And unfortunately, and you might have experienced this or will, that organizations look at that chaos and go, oh, agile doesn't work, and they dial it back again. That's where we get a lot of the hybrids. Whether it's bottom up or top down, you maybe still have a predictive result, but you're going to utilize sprints or iterations, or you're going to use task boards instead of Gantt charts or something like that to help streamline what you're doing. And we're seeing this a lot now. This is why, I don't know if you're familiar with like Trello or Monday.com or Planner, any of those things. If you're using them, those can be utilized in predictive projects as well. So like I said before, PMI puts out these role delineation studies or surveys. You like Monday? Me too. Oh, Asana's good too. Yeah, I like Asana too. There's a bunch of them out there. In fact, even like the Microsofts of the world, Microsoft Project, a little shudder there. Microsoft Project is also adding in task boards, so a smart sheet, some of those things. But man, if you switched from like a Gantt chart, Word, Excel into Monday.com, it's like when Dorothy enters Oz, right? You're like, oh, Technicolor. And so when they send out these studies, people respond with, this is what we're using. And that drives the trends toward a lot of the best, content that we're going to be talking about, and changes to the actual exam. If you have the tools to manage organizational situations, and here's the deal, like I said, thank you, CT. Here's the deal. When we talk about the content in class, I'm very cognizant that everything that we talk about isn't going to necessarily magically apply to what you're doing. And so a lot of the conversations that we have in class are, what might be something that you could utilize? Are you already doing this? Would you find it helpful? And feel free to say, nope, that's not going to work for me. And that's perfectly fine. Yeah, you got to pass an exam. But after that, it's like, what can I use? What can I throw away? What can I adapt? What can I adjust? There's a very big difference between PMI's perfect world project management and what we deal with every single day. And I'm aware of that. I'm not like, okay, here's your PMI hat, put it on and never take it off, because I get it. Depends on your industry, your organization, what's going to work. And so what techniques can you pull from that? And oftentimes, like, people come to the ACP, the Agile Certified Practitioner class, which is a certification class, and never take the cert. They're just there for best practices. There's no perfect world, I know. Is the CAPM easier to obtain than the PMP? Should one go for the CAPM? The CAPM is an easier exam. Yes, right? Because it's designed for people that don't have a lot of in-depth experience in project management, like just out of school, 1 or 2 years maybe. They're not at that point where they can take the PMP. Some in this class, in this webinar, absolutely said, yeah, get your CAPM first and then gain your experience and get the PMP. I would say if you already have the 3 years for the PMP, you're welcome. Then you might want to consider just getting the PMP, right? But some people like to have tons of letters after their name, so it's completely up to you. This new content will help you with the PMP though, for sure, because it's going to mirror at a little bit of an easier level. I'm not saying it's easy, but a little bit of an easier level that is going to kind of mirror what you'll see on the PMP as well. The PMP exam is broken down into 3 domains: people, process, and business environment. The CAPM is broken down into 4 domains. So we have the project management fundamentals and core concepts that PMI assumes if you're taking your PMP, you already know. So that's why it's on this. Demonstrating the understanding of project life cycles. What's the difference between predictive, adaptive, that kind of thing. Planning. How does a project kick off? What are our roles and responsibilities, and what frameworks and execution strategies are going to be best for generalized projects, right? Common problem solving tools and techniques. You can see that's 36% of the questions on this exam. Now, before we go through the percentages, just know that when you sit down to take any exam, the CAPM, the PMP, any of the ACP, when you sit down to take that exam, you're going to pull in a test pool of questions. They're going to be in completely random order. Y'all could take the exam same exact day and get a completely different test pool of questions. And so when we talk about 36%, that's how they score. So they're going to run it through their super secret algorithm, right? 30 seconds after you submit the exam, it's going to say, congratulations, you passed. You're above target in fundamentals domain. You're above target in, the predictive domain, which is 17% of the exam. And you can see, I don't know if any of these terms look familiar, but work breakdown structures, that kind of quality management, integration, which is that project management plan with the baselines. And how many of you have formal change control? Like you have to process a change request period through a change approval board, a change control board. Yeah, yes, right? Aaron, no getting out of that. So that's, and I can tell if you're saying yes, you're probably in a more predictive environment, very formal. Yeah. A predictive, formal environment for project management. So you're the change control approver, Lucky. Usually my joke is in class that, change control board's job is to deny change. And I'm just kidding. But if you're approver, you said approver, that's a good thing. But calculating, budgets and schedules and trying to figure out as we execute, what's the variance or what's the difference between the plan, the baselines, and the actual. Those of you on the more formal predictive side of things, a lot of this content, even though it's perfect world, might be easier. If you're on the more agile side, predictive seems counterintuitive, right? And in the predictive, agile seems counterintuitive because they're like very different from each other. That's why we have so many hybrids out there. When we look at agile, and by the way, agile is just a label like predictive. It doesn't denote an industry. It doesn't denote best practices. It's predictive versus adaptive or agile. So PMI and we go through several frameworks. I don't know if any of these look familiar to you. Anybody familiar with Scrum? And I don't have any Scrum Masters in here. Extreme programming. Yeah, there's some aspects of XP. XP was designed for software development, but you don't need to be a software development professional. You don't even need to know code. Yes, you are, Chris. Okay, so extreme programming, scaled agile framework, maybe SAFe. You have agile leadership cert? Good job, CT. But SAFe is registered, trademarked. So is Scrum, really. These are a way of saying, here are the best I love Kanban. Yeah, my favorite. Google PM certificate does it have much weight? All education certificates carry weight. Like if you got something out of it and you learned something from it that you can utilize on your job, then that piece of paper is gold. If you got the piece of paper and you never use it, anything that you learned, because maybe you don't need to or whatever, then it doesn't carry as much weight. It's how you implement it. How much weight likely depends on the employer or hiring manager. Exactly. Yeah. Kanban, I love Kanban. So if you're using Monday or you're using Planner or anything like that, you are basically using Kanban to help execute, iterations and that kind of thing. So I love Agile. I really do. I was a predictive project manager for very much longer than maybe I could have, should have, would have, and then got into Agile and really just changed the way that I look at everything. So having seen both sides of this, there's a lot of really great conversations that we can have about it, but using those frameworks as sort of the placeholders for best practices in all Agile projects. So we kind of cherry pick, or they do, PMI does, cherry picks the best of the best from the most common frameworks out there. Business analysis, this is 27%, which is a lot heavier a weight than I would have expected originally. Do I have any business analysts in here at all? Anybody who does project selection, you're crunching the big scary formulas to figure out net present value, anything like that, ROI, doing a benefits management plan? Because most people would say, lots you do here. So these are going to be things, use cases, roadmaps, trying to influence, the organization to say, here's the benefit. This is the sales pitch, man. This is why we're doing this project. Here's the numbers. Here's the money. But here's why we're doing this. Oh, former BA. There you go. Now the CAPM, if you're like, what? Big scary formulas? What? No. There's no math. But essentially what they're doing is they're saying, if we understand where those numbers came from, why projects got chartered in the first place, what are the benefits that the organization is expecting from the projects that we're working on, then we're that's half the battle. Thank goodness. Oh, yeah, but you've done so for private. So you've been there, done that, right? You're like, so glad I don't have to do that anymore. But validating requirements through product delivery, I think that's why it carries so much weight. PMI does not expect you to do business analysis. But what they do is want you to do is to understand why it's an important aspect of any project that gets chartered. Because they're like, hey, here's why we keep telling you no for more time, money, resources, because we have an expectation of a certain amount of ROI. That's okay. It is being recorded. Absolutely. It gets uploaded after we're all wrapped up today. How to qualify. I mean, this is probably, other than CompTIA Project Plus, which is in its 005 iteration, the CAPM has very limited overarching requirements for you to sit the exam. The PMP, you have to have a certain amount. You got to document all your projects, that kind of thing. We talk about all that in the class. But the CAPM, the application is pretty easy. And, just high school, diploma, second, GED is the minimum. Obviously, if you're in 5th grade, you can't take it. But no, you got to graduate from high school at least. Are Reiki considered, some of them are. Kanban is literally the Japanese concept or word for pull system. And it was created at Toyota after World War II. And the folks from Toyota came to Detroit to see what American car manufacturers were doing. And while they were there, they were in a grocery store and they were watching people shop. So if you go in and you buy a gallon of milk or whatever and thunk, another one comes out, you get it when you're ready. Right? You can always come back the next day and go, might not work with eggs now, but you can get milk next day. So it's a pull system that was designed to pull work into progress. So any software, Reiki definitely. I've never used the other one, but I would say anything that has a board, a task board, a post-it note-y kind of pull work into progress, swim lanes could be considered Kanban, for sure. For sure. And actually, I have an entire Kanban board course. I use Trello for it just because it's free and anybody can access it. But we do talk about Kanban in the CAPM and the PMP, for sure. So if you've never used one before or you're like looking into it, we cover it. 23 hours of project management education, we cover that, right? So if you come to the CAPM class, when you wrap up the class, you will have your credits and be able to submit your application and go schedule your exam. The exam itself it's a big exam, right? It's 150 questions total, and they score you on 135. Now, it says 16 unscored questions. The reason why it's they use Kaizen too, that's for quality, continuous improvement. Yep, you're absolutely right. We got a lot from Toyota that we talk about in class. Kaizen, by the way, combination of 2 Japanese words, Kai and Zen, loosely translated as continuous improvement or change for the better. And we talk about that in quality on the predictive side, as well as like the retrospectives and reviews on the agile side. Good stuff. Thanks, Mike. So 16 questions are unscored. And the reason they're doing this, and I think that number will go down after time, but I think the reason why they do this is to build out their test pool of questions. Is the PMBOK 6 edition the still appropriate support guide for the new? No, No, in fact, the 6th edition PMBOK Guide, Project Management Body of Knowledge, is being retired. There's the 7th edition, but PMI would say none of the exams are based on a PMBOK Guide anymore. Now, will the 6th edition hurt you? Well, if you read the whole thing, it might. No, I'm just kidding. But no, well, the 6th edition, it's all predictive project management. Since the new exam is going to also have Agile in it, business analysis, all of those things, the 6th edition is not going to get it all. You have the 7th. That's probably a better reference point, plus the class and the practice exams and all that to go through and get the best information. If you struggle with predictive, though, you know, the PMBOK 6 is set up like a cookbook. You can just go back and go, I just need to review predictive risk. And just go to chapter 11 and review predictive risk, you know. So it's not a bad thing, but eventually it's going to be retired. As soon as this exam comes out, the 6th edition goes bye-bye. So the 16 unscored questions, I think that number will go down once this exam, gets its legs. But for now, you won't know which ones are scored, which ones are not scored. So you have to answer all 150. You have 3 hours to answer the questions, but what they're doing now is they're giving you a break. So basically you do half the exam and submit, take a 10-minute break if you want. You can skip the break, but you can't skip the submit. So you have to submit half the exam, take a break or not. I recommend getting up. I use them to hyperventilate and, okay, that first half was hard. Get it together. Take the break and then go back and take the second half. This goes for whether you're taking it at a center or you want to take it at home. Pearson VUE is the host of this exam, and I saw a lot of your locations, probably larger metropolitan areas, are going to have multiple centers. Smaller, more rural areas might not. So taking it from home might be something that you want to do. Either way, you get the 10-minute break. The reason they make you submit is so nobody cheats. Because if you didn't have to submit, you could go look up the answers, because you are allowed to leave the room. You could go look up the answers and then come back and update your information on your exam. So they're like, hey, we don't want anybody cheating. So when does the exam change? Like I said, sometime in early 2023. One thing that I definitely do, it doesn't matter, how many of you have taken a class with me before? Because I recognize some names in here. If not, I'm going to have support actually chat in my email address. Dan's asking, when are you doing PMP official exam prep 2-week traditional? The next one starts Monday, but typically it's once or twice a month, every single month. Just to confirm, do the questions follow the same order in terms of the content? The same order as far as domains, you mean? Yeah, no, the exam's going to be all mixed up. The exam's all mixed up, but we compartmentalize the training so that you get all the concepts regardless of what order the questions come in. Yeah, thank you, Colin. So that's my email address. I highly recommend that you jot it down. If you decide you're like, I'm not going to come to a class until April, feel free to reach out to me via email at any time. I give out my email address to my students. So I have people who reach out like a year later, and say, hey, I'm ready for the ACP now. What's up with that? You are welcome. Just so you get any questions, because you might not think of all the questions in this webinar. You've got questions, or like, hey, I'm thinking about gearing up for this. When does the exam change? Have you had any information so that I can schedule, my life, my class, etc. So absolutely feel free to reach out with any questions that you might have. Like that goes for, it doesn't, I'm happy you're here, so you got my email address. We'll know at least a month in advance before the exam changes. They have to give us a month. They have to give organizations that teach their content a month at least to update their content. I'm already ahead of it. I already updated it because I know what they're doing. So it's all good. It is ready to go. So as soon as we get the thumbs up, that'll be the next class on the calendar. The actual exams, now this one hasn't changed yet, so I don't know how they're going to price it per se, but typically the CAPM is less expensive than the PMP, so it's like a $355, something like that. If you are a member, because I don't want to quote you a price if they're going to change it, which is entirely possible, but if you do go out to pmi.org, O-R-G, that's the Project Management Institute's website. And that's a good one to jot down too. Thank you. 225 non-member, 300. Thanks, Colin. I have a feeling that's going to go up. But if you go to pmi.org, you can go to the certification pages and check out the landing page for CAPM or PMP, and you'll see, all the updates, the pricing, and that kind of thing. Thanks, Colin. Man, you are on it. I appreciate it. If you decide you want to join PMI, you can. Membership has its benefits. You'll get a free download of the 7th edition at least. Maybe you can still get the 6th edition when and if you join. But once it's retired, that link will go bye-bye. So you want to make sure that you download it in a PDF to your desktop or whatever. But membership definitely has its benefits. If you decide to join for 1 year, you do get a discount on your exam. And you have access to like PMI standards and other downloads and job boards. And, like I said, membership has its benefits. It's worth it for a year. You can also join local chapters if you feel like, hanging out, talking about work after work. You could certainly do that too. But yeah, project management is booming right now. So if we can use content as a springboard to upskill, it's typically, and Colin's going to get it for you, but it's typically like the difference between the membership and the non-member price for the exam. So it almost works out, maybe $20 more. It almost works out to be the same. That's why I say if you join and you get the discount on your exam, you get the membership and the exam for about the same price. So that link that Colin put in there will take you out to the CAPM. There you go. We're talking about the CAPM rather than the ACP. Are you asking which one to take? The ACP, you have to have 2,000 hours of project management experience. So some of you put in 10 years and that kind of thing. So you're good to go there. And you also need 1,500 hours of Agile specific experience. Now that doesn't mean full-blown Agile projects. Maybe you worked on a predictive project, but you did 1,500 hours of daily stand-up meetings, retrospectives. Those count too. So the only difference between really the CAPM and the ACP is the ACP is 100% Agile, whereas the CAPM is probably going to be about 50-50. So it depends on what information you need. In the ACP, we go all the way through all the frameworks of Agile, the common ones, right? We go through all the frameworks and then we do deeper dives into the best practices from those frameworks. It really just depends on what you're interested in. I would say, a lot of people come to the ACP class because they don't necessarily want to get certified. They just want the info. Are there any practice? Well, there's a ton out there now. I've written a practice exam for this updated exam, so there will be. Any practice exam that you see right now is going to be based on the current iteration of the exam. But once that exam changes, then yeah, there's going to be a ton of them out there. Yeah, there'll be a ton of them. But like I said, right now, the practice exams in the classes have to be based on the current exam. We're actually going to do a couple practice questions right now. I want to give you a little bit of a taste of what kinds of things we cover and what kinds of things PMI is going to test you on. We don't have a ton of time, so I'm not doing a bunch of, I'm going to do 3. But I want to show you what we do in class. And one of the things that I do is show you how to break down a question and why the correct answer is the correct answer. So if you want to play along, I highly encourage it. Don't be demotivated if you get the wrong answer. You haven't even taken the class. You're in a webinar. So please don't ever feel bad about chatting in. Sometimes chatting in the wrong answer locks in the concept, right? So don't worry about chatting in the wrong answer. That's not what this is about. It's really just to give you an idea as to why PMI does the types of questions that they do, why having common language and predictive, agile, effective project management, those kinds of things are going to be important. And so one thing that we do is we talk about that real world versus perfect world dynamic, and then talk about, best practices for taking the exam. And, I hesitate to use the word hack because it's not the prettiest word in the whole entire world, but exam hacks, like how do I break apart this question? How do I answer these types of questions? Why is it, so perfect world? And I joke with my PMPers and my CAPMers, when you first take a practice exam, you're going to want to whip your laptop whoosh, right out the window onto the lawn. Like, why? So one of the things that I recommend, and I'm doing this for PMP now, once CAPM is updated, I'll do it for the CAPM, but I recommend what's called micro testing. And so for the PMPers, they've got 2 huge practice exams, but then they also have, 20 questions here, 20 questions there, 20 question micro exams, so that they can work their way through questions over coffee or at night without sitting there for like 3-4 hours trying to get through, a brutal practice exam. And so the micro testing and the practice questions and how to break those apart are absolutely going to be huge for you. What's the success rates for students who have taken my CAPM course? I think PMP and CAPM were like above 95% first time pass rate. Yeah, my peeps pass. And I think it's because I spend a lot of time, and I'll show you the question, talking about not just the best practices, but also the expectation as to why PMI says this is the best practice and how to sort of switch your mind off during the exam and say, okay, this is my PMI hat. I can take it off after I pass the exam. And so with that being said, now obviously we haven't run the course, but I've been doing this way too long. Woohoo! In fact, I'm going to change my title from senior project management instructor. I want to go back to junior. All right, so I'm going to pop up a question here. We'll just I just want to pull out sort of the key phrases. It's not an exam sim per se. It's just, you're allowed to have 3 chances at the CAPM. So the question is, how many attempts do you have? Are you allowed? You have 3 attempts to take and pass the exam, but you got to pay for it every time. And nobody got money for that. So we want to focus on getting you through it the first time. Do some people, run into a problem where they didn't have a chance to study and they scheduled their exam and they just took it? Yeah, then you have that opportunity, but you won't need it. All right, so if we look at the agile side, a product owner, and you might be like, I don't even know what a product owner is. And that's okay, you will. But a product owner is sort of like a project manager for an agile project. So you've got this stakeholder complaining about a function developed by the development team that's not aligning with the original design. What's your best solution? Okay, and this is where real world and perfect world are going to completely diverge, and I get it. I totally get it because I'm getting all over the map, right? All over the map. I've got ask the development team, ask the QA team, and I can tell the people that have quality control and quality assurance in their worlds, right? Ask the product owner to attend a retrospective. Here's the difference. And this is why coming to a class with somebody who understands how PMI thinks is so important. Because all the answers that are coming in here, I completely agree with. I would have chosen 2. If it were me, I would have been like, okay, well, quality assurance needs to figure out what's wrong with our process. Quality control needs to get in there and figure out the design, right? PMI would say, update the product owner twice a week on product development. What? Laptop right out the window. So part of absorbing concepts and part of understanding where PMI is coming from, they're like, look, if they're complaining and things aren't aligning, y'all aren't communicating. Better communicate better, be proactive. And it might be so completely counterintuitive to what everybody thought. That's why I say don't get demotivated if you get the wrong answer. This is about how to teach you to think like PMI, and it's not going to necessarily align with your day-to-day, right? So that's my job, is to get you across the finish line. You're a predictive project manager. You've got mandatory milestones. We've been there. Global virtual team, fixed budget. In order to avoid scope creep, unauthorized, uncontrollable changes, what's the best practice? Daily stand-up meetings? Make sure that stakeholders aren't bugging your team? Formal change control? Or detailed reporting structures? So what do you think about that? Now, the key phrase that pays here is you are a predictive project manager. That means there's no agile. None, right? It's not hybrid, it's predictive. All of the above CT, I know, I agree. Trust me, I get it. And I've taken all of these exams. I've written the books for a lot of these exams. I get it. But that's why I was like, oh, exam hack. you have to figure. So because it leads with predictive, mandatory, avoid scope creep, all of that, PMI is going to say, you better have a formal change control procedure. So those of you that chose 3, I know you're probably in an industry where that's a thing. Like scope creep, bad. Change control, good. Right? For the rest of us, we might be like, oh, okay, well, let's make sure that we're on top of things by having a daily stand-up meeting. What did we do yesterday? What are we doing today? What impediments are in our way? Let's protect the team, because that's a very servant leadership scrum philosophy, is like protect the team from bothersome stakeholders. And or detailed reporting structures, more documentation. Yeah, see, there you go. Sign you up. You got this, right? Okay, now we have an agile team, but we're on the people side. There's a lot of conflict. People are visibly unhappy. Product owner gives an update. One team member yells at them. Stating the update doesn't make any sense. What 2 actions should you take? So there are 2 answers that are correct and 2 that are incorrect. So do we intervene and let them vent? Each team member gets a minute to say their thing. Do we reprimand them? Do we ask each team member to use emotional intelligence instead of anger? Or facilitate by asking the team to suggest ways to, that should say, resolve the issue? I had a fat finger, right? What do you think? Would you say 1 or 4? 2 or 3? 2 or 4? Choose 2. All right, there you go. 1 and 4 are good. 3 and 4, 3 and 4. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. They can all be right? Every single one of these answers sound okay. Some of you might have even said, well, I'd choose 2, but I know the game after 2 questions now. So I'm going to think like PMI thinks. I'm going to not say reprimand, because that would be wrong. Right? It's 1 and 4. Essentially what we're trying to do is give people the opportunity not to get to the point where everything's boiling over and they're all conflict, right? And then facilitate by asking the team to suggest ways to resolve the issue. So if you said 1 and 4, I get it. 3 and 4, I like that too, because you have that emotional intelligence instead of anger, like slow your roll. Let's be adults, Nobody said reprimand them if they're yelling. And some bosses might look at that and go, what do you mean you're yelling? No, you're not allowed to yell in meetings. No. Not at all. All right, last one. 3 stakeholders are upset during the acceptance phase of the project and have stated they're not happy and their expectations were not met. How do we avoid this? Do we use conflict management techniques? Because there's some vagary there. Stakeholder feedback, risk assessments, or emotional intelligence techniques? All right, so I'm getting some answers. I'm getting some 2s. Ooh. So far, everybody's kind of in agreement. I get a lot of 2s. Some outliers, but that's all right. Because you would probably be surprised at how many times emotional intelligence is the right answer. But I can see you starting to be like, these questions are tricky. How do I hack this exam? So it's one thing to learn the information. Good job, you guys. I would say the majority. If you said risk assessments, I get it. If you said emotional intelligence, I get it. Conflict management, I get it. They all make sense. It's just from PMI's perspective, what are the best answers? So coming to a class is one thing, right? You learn concepts and it's going to feel a little overwhelming and it's 8 sessions and it's a ton of information. But being able to work together on what you could see, what's important to kind of pull out of the content for exam purposes, and what might be more realistic of having, just a conversation about, how do I implement this? Do you have templates for that? Yeah, absolutely. So we really seesaw between perfect world and real world. And I don't just disappear after the class is over. I can review, like if you're taking your PMP, I review people's applications. If you have questions, if you want to, just kind of be like, hey, I'm feeling stressed out, I'm overwhelmed. Can you help me with a study plan? I mean, those are the things that I do. And I know a lot of instructors, training organizations are just like, bye, thanks for your money, hope you pass. That's not me. Not at all. I want you to not only be successful, I want you to enjoy the class. It's highly interactive. I try and make it fun. Let's face it, project management concepts are perhaps the driest content ever, right? So we want to make sure that it's high energy, that you get great information, that you walk out of the class knowing that you're supported, and you pass the thing. But hopefully also walk away with some cool things that you can use. Certainly, I want to know when you pass. I love to celebrate those. I get a lot of those emails. I love them. It makes me very happy. And then some people want to kind of continue on and go, all right, I want to get my ACP, or I want to start working toward my Six Sigma. Maybe I just want to take a Microsoft Planner course because I didn't even know I had that app, but I do. Microsoft Project, if you're still working with the Gantt charts, that kind of thing. I mean, so everything that I teach not only is designed to help support learning and get you certified or maintain your certifications, and I know that's like super hard to read, but I do the Green Belt, Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma, Fundamentals for the Accidental Project Manager. That will also be updated because that was original to the 6th edition PMP guide. So there'll probably be something in the very near future in my build plan where I'll have to update that as well. The Agile Certified Practitioner, but if you want to go into ITIL, that kind of thing, if you're on more of the IT side too, but you're managing IT projects, the other instructors are amazing. All right, so if you are interested in getting started, reach out to Mike. He can hook you up, help you out. That's Mike's information, but definitely if you have product questions, content questions, that's all me. That's why I handed out my email address, because I wanted to make sure that you can direct those questions to me and make sure that you get answers from, I don't want you getting bounced around, like, I don't know, let me reach out to just email me directly. On the other hand, if you want to get started or you've got people that you want to get involved, definitely reach out to Mike. He can help you out. Same thing, you can reach out to Mike about CompTIA. I teach the 005, the most up-to-date Project Plus. That one, because it's through CompTIA, is also on demand, so you don't have to take it live. The CAPM is recorded as well, so it could be synchronous, asynchronous, combination of both. Project Plus is the same way. So if you want to shoot me an email, John, if you're curious about Project Plus, I can help you out with that too. I teach all the project management classes. So anything, as well as, Microsoft, the project, and some of the software side. But if it's, Project Plus, Agile, anything, predictive, that's all me. So yeah, ashley.hunt@stormwindlive.com. Anybody have any questions? I'm very cognizant. It's Friday. I want to wrap up on time, get you out of here, get the recording posted. But do you have any questions for me that you feel like throwing into the chat? If not, feel free to reach out to me via email, and I'll be happy to answer those. But otherwise, have a fantastic weekend. And I'm sorry, I just have to go Eagles. I gotta say it, I'm a huge Eagles fan. I'm super excited for Sunday. But you all have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for joining. We all really appreciate it here at Stormwind Studios for taking your time out. I'm hoping it was very helpful. There you go, Eagles. I know. You can be sorry for me. It's all right. Got job, CAPM, PMP. Not on my radar, but you did enjoy the webinar? Awesome. Look, whenever, Scott, reach out and let me know. All right, everybody, get out of here. Have a great rest of your day, your weekend. I hope to see you in some class sometime in the very near future, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and for everybody here at Stormwind Studios, we appreciate you being here. Thanks so much. Bye.